Yo, what's up, 209 bitch? Yeah, I'm talking about you, Nate Diaz. We scrapped it out about 9 years ago, but maybe it was a fluke. So what do you say we do it one more time for the fans? And when you sign in that dotted line, before you get in the cage, make sure you get real high this time. So when I spike you on your head, put you in a full Nelson like last time, you won't feel a thing. See you in Chicago, homie.
Back to the daily grind, and y'all know we gotta talk about this. But before we do, make sure you hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Yo, full time family. The Nate Diaz disrespect has got to stop. Oh, holy flying flipping flapjacks, Clay Guida, I gotta admit that made me laugh, man. That was pretty funny. Clay Guida's joining the list of people calling out Nate Diaz for a return fight to the UFC. The video you just saw, he said, hey, let's fight at UFC 225. You might have thought the first fight was a fluke. Let's get it in. If you didn't know, Clay Guida handed Nate Diaz his first UFC loss. It was via split decision. And so now Clay Guida's entering his name. You know, he's riding a 2-fight winning streak since, you know, he's joined Team Alpha Male, and now he's having somewhat of a career resurgence. Clay Guida is. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. Most recently, I believe he beat Joe Lazan. Now he's looking for a fight at UFC 225, and he's saying, hey, I don't know who Nate Diaz is going to come back and fight, but he said something about coming back in May or June. Let's get it in at UFC 225 if Nate Diaz wants some. We don't know who Nate Diaz is going to come back and fight. I don't think it'll be Clay Guida, but that was a pretty interesting and funny call out, and it is a fight that it would be a rematch. Nate Diaz might want to get that back, so it could happen. Now, there's been top lightweights. Nate Diaz has been offered title shots in multiple divisions. He's been offered top lightweights. There's been people that have called him out respectfully. There's been people that have called out Nate Diaz disrespectfully. There's been boxers that have called out Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz has hinted at going to boxing. Nate Diaz has went through bike season, and I actually just saw Nate Diaz got a new bike on Instagram recently. I think bike season's coming back around. So we don't know when Nate Diaz is coming back to fight, who Nate Diaz is coming back to fight, if Nate Diaz is coming back to fight. I do think Nate Diaz will be back, but it will probably, in my mind, I'm guessing, be against Conor McGregor. I mean, you know, just given the fact that he's been offered multiple title fights, you know, in multiple divisions, 155, 170, wherever Nate Diaz wants to go. Tyron Woodley, Tony Ferguson, Khabib, Kevin Lee, Eddie Alvarez, that'd be a good fight. But none of the fights have enticed Nate Diaz enough to come back since getting that Conor McGregor money. So maybe that's what he's waiting on, a Conor McGregor trilogy. We really don't know. But with that being said, that was an interesting call out by Clay Guida. And with all of that being said, Nate Diaz took to social media himself and clowned Anthony Pettis and former opponent Donald Cerrone, who became training partners and, you know, had 5 rounds of sparring, it looked like, I believe, at Jackson Wink. But Nate Diaz went in the comments on the photo. Anthony Pettis and Donald Cerrone were together, and he said, fucking dorks. You know what this reminds me of? Nate Diaz calling, because he's beat Donald Cerrone in the past. He hasn't fought Anthony Pettis. Could be a future matchup. I mean, but as of right now, anything's a future matchup for Nate Diaz. We don't know we don't know if he wants a title fight. We don't know if he wants a rivalry fight. We don't know if he wants a Pettis fight, a Guida fight. We don't know what Nate Diaz wants. So with that being said, Nate Diaz is kind of keeping his name in the hat here. You know what I'm saying? We've seen this out of Conor McGregor. He might be taking a little bit of a page out of Conor McGregor's book. That's what this reminds me of. Whenever Max Holloway got his most recent win over Jose Aldo, he posted a picture on Instagram and was like, fucking, what did he say? Conor McGregor was like, I missed those sunglasses. You know, and he's like taking shots at Max Holloway low-key. He's went back and forth with Max Holloway, and he's got that win over Max Holloway. So if you say, hey, man, we can fight, like right now, if Donald Cerrone said, hey, Nate Diaz, I'm a fucking dork, I'll whoop your ass, let's fight. What are you talking about? You beat me a while ago. You wouldn't beat me in a rematch. Do you think that's going to get Nate Diaz in the cage? I don't know. Conor McGregor takes a shot at Max Holloway. Max Holloway can say, hey, I was a fucking baby back then. That was 10 fights ago. Let's fight again. You think that's going to get Conor in the cage? Probably not. So when you're, you know, when you're on the throne like Nate Diaz or Conor McGregor and everybody wants to fight you, and you're just throwing, you know, it's kind of interesting throwing shots at these guys that you're not gonna fight. You know, you're calling the Anthony Pettis and Donald Cerrone fucking dorks, but if they called you out or called you out on it, would you fight him in the UFC? I don't think that'd be the case. I think Nate Diaz might be waiting on Conor McGregor. Same with Conor and Max. So with that being said, it is what it is. I did find it kind of funny that Nate Diaz was, you know, commenting on this picture, calling these guys fucking dorks, as well as the Clay Guida calling out Nate Diaz. I also found that pretty interesting. But with that being said, let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about Nate Diaz clowning Donald Cerrone and Anthony Pettis? We know Anthony Pettis has a fight coming up with Michael Chiesa. It's good to see, you know, it's good that at least Donald Cerrone, he's been being active. He got a win over Yancy Medeiros recently. Before that, Donald Cerrone was on a little bit of a skid, but these motherfuckers are in here fighting. Donald Cerrone probably doesn't need money either. He makes a lot of money to fucking fight. Guess what he's doing? Fighting. But hey, you know, it can be different things with Nate Diaz. He's got other stuff going on. So it might not be fair to compare him, but at the same time, if you're going to call a guy a fucking dork who's being active, hey, I don't think a lot of people are going to rock with that. So I fuck with Nate Diaz, but I don't know about calling Donald Cerrone and Anthony Pettis a dork here. And you know, until we know more about Nate Diaz's fight, which we should hear from soon. He said May or June. It's fucking March. 1 or 2 months. If he's gonna have a fight coming up in May or June, it's gonna have to be announced sooner rather than later, because you gotta have a fucking fight camp. You know, so we'll see what's going on with Nate Diaz. I'll keep you guys updated. Make sure you stay tuned. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.